Last week we did a story about a guy, a ramen shop owner, who called the police and said he'd been robbed at the end of the day of a certain amount of money, and then it turns out he had not been robbed. He'd set this up himself. And I thought that's sort of a weird one-off story, which is why it attracted my interest. Then 2 weeks later, we have a multitude of stories. It's almost, I'm wondering if it's copycats, but then the news that we get is usually like a couple weeks after the initial crime. Like one of the stories is from the end of February. It's now basically the middle of April. Is it a copycat? Because I'm pretty sure the people who are doing the same thing didn't read the news. And then also, why would you copycat a crime that didn't work? That's actually a really interesting aspect of this, because I'm seeing a bunch of these stories all of a sudden. So we have a 50... Let's get started. We have a 54-year-old civil servant who bound his own hands and feet to mimic being robbed. He said 2 men pointed something like a knife at him after he left home, and they stole 800,000 yen that he had on him. He was driven away and found 7 hours later, but they could not find any suspects. He claimed that both suspects were in their 30s and 40s. God damn, having a rough start. He claimed that both suspects were in their 30s, 175 milli... God damn it. Start again. He claimed both suspects were in their 30s, 175 centimeters tall. They wore dark clothes and hats and masks. So this is the first problem, is if that's the description, this is kind of like the vague description they did last week. You can't find that person. So you're giving them a description, but no actual details. So a description with no actual details means they're just making it so that this is really hard to find the people that they're looking for. 175 centimeters is sort of the average height of a Japanese person. No facial features because they're wearing masks and wearing all black. That's a lot of people every single day. He was arrested for obstructing police operations, and they currently don't know why he do it. So this is it. Like, do you get the money back if you've had the money stolen from you? I guess maybe they might have insurance of some sort. That might be the only way to get out of this. I'm trying to think where the profit is in this. So for the ramen guy, his store probably had robbery insurance of some sort. So maybe he could get money that way. But this guy, if it's like his personal funds, that isn't insured. So it's not like you're actually going to get it back. A 24-year-old woman claims someone broke into her house and stole her wallet, but there were no signs of a break-in. So there's your first problem, is if you're going to fake a crime, you have to actually fake the details of a crime. Now, maybe you don't know what those are, which is, again, our guy from the ramen restaurant last night was like searching on ChatGPT on his phone, like how to fake a robbery. This woman didn't even put that much effort into it. She just called the police and said she'd been robbed. Someone broke into her house, but there was no signs of forced entry into her house. So then the police found the wallet that she claimed had been stolen. So not only did she not fake the crime properly, the thing that was supposed to be stolen, she didn't even like get rid of it or hide it or do anything with it. So the police found it while they were searching her place. A 31-year-old claimed he was attacked, slashed with something like a box cutter, knives being difficult. Knives are illegal to carry in Japan, so box cutters are not, which is why if you watch a Japanese movie, you'll actually see people attacking each other with box cutters fairly often, because that's an easy weapon to get a hold of in Japan if you want to turn it into a weapon. He claimed he was slashed with something like a box cutter, but he had inflicted the wounds himself. Then a 37-year-old man, this was from February 27th, ran into a police station and said he had been threatened with a gun. It's a very rare thing to be threatened with in Japan because guns are so hard to get a hold of. They took an envelope with 260,000 yen cash in it. He said the attackers appeared to be foreign because they said, "Give me money." Security camera footage found no such individuals on the streets anywhere in the area. They couldn't legitimately find anyone who even came close to the description he gave. There were no foreigners. Interesting side note, the number of crimes by foreigners in Japan has actually been going down, while the number of foreigners in Japan has been going up. So that's an interesting ratio that has been changing. So more people are coming to Japan, but those people are committing less crimes overall. I do have a weird question. It's like, what do you get out of this? So for the people who are, pretending to be robbed, if they have robbery insurance, I guess they get money back, so they're trying to steal money. I kind of understand that one. But the people who are doing it personally, what do they get out of it? Are they getting any sort of media attention? But, okay, I kind of said this last time. put a little work into it. Plan your crime properly. If you're going to say someone broke into your house, you got to make it look like someone broke into your house. But with the amount of surveillance cameras in the world today, it is very unlikely you're going to get away with it, because every one of these has been busted by the cops finding security footage in the area and not finding the suspect, and then asking them some hard questions, and they're not able to answer the questions, and then they get caught. There was a survey done, and it was the 10 most annoying things foreign tourists do on Japanese trains. Now, so after going through this list, I thought I would go through my list of the 10 most annoying things Japanese people do on trains. So number 10, coughing, sneezing without consideration. I actually think that's pretty fair. Number 9, leaving trash behind. Japanese people are very weirded out by garbage left on a chair where they're supposed to sit. They don't actually want to touch it. I kind of get that. Number 8, other. Don't know what that is, but any other stuff, I guess, fell into the category of number 8. I guess non-specifics that didn't fit into the entire list. Number 7, sitting in priority seats. Number 6, bad manners when boarding or getting off. Number 5, standing near the door without moving. I think number 6 and number 5 are actually the exact same thing. So bad manners when boarding or getting off, blocking the way. I think that's what they're trying to say. Number 4, strong sense. Number 3, sitting style that encroaches others. I think they're talking about man spreading more than anything else. Number 2, carrying and placement of luggage or bags and umbrellas. And number 1, noisy conversations and messing about. Now, if you would like to know my top 10 list of things Japanese people do that annoy me when I'm on the train, number 10 is coughing and sneezing without consideration. Number 9 is leaving behind trash. It's very annoying. Number 8, it's kind of a general catch-all. Other is the one I put on my list. Number 7, sitting in priority seats when they're not supposed to, or not getting up and offering their seats to other people. Number 6, bad manners when boarding or getting off the train. Number 5, standing near the door without moving. Number 4, strong sense, but I'm not talking about perfumes. I'm talking about strong personal body sense. Number 3, sitting style that encroaches on others or blocking out space so that other people can't sit next to you. Probably the thing that annoys me the most is when there's 2 seats and you sit on the outside so people can't get on the inside, or you put your bag there to block other people from sitting down. Number 2, carrying and placement of luggage, bags, or umbrellas. And number 1, noisy conversations and messing about. Japanese people can complain about foreigners, but Japanese people also have to take a look at their own behavior before making those sort of complaints. I have had kids, and so I understand that kids are frustrating and very difficult to deal with. And punishing them can be difficult, for finding a balance between being strict and, those moments when you're supposed to be kind. It's always interesting, TV shows, they always know when they're supposed to get really tough with the kids and ground them, and then when they're supposed to sort of be gentle and forgiving and that kind of stuff. It's always difficult to tell. For me, in movies, it's always the leave me behind moment in movies. So you have the guy falls and he goes, leave me behind, you go without me. And then how do they know when leaving them behind is the right thing to do, or stopping and then heroically saving them is the right thing to do? Because there's no criteria. It's just a decision. Now, in the movies, it's always the right decision, but I would like to see sooner or later sometime where the hero decides to run away and leave the person to die, and then they find out, oh, that was totally the wrong thing to do. I could have saved that guy 10 times over. Or they go to save the person when they're not supposed to, and they both die as a result. I mean, any of those scenarios I would like to see played out. This is a lower stakes version of that. When to know how to punish your kid and how harshly. But I tried to be strict and yet kind and understanding as often as I could. Some other people maybe haven't found that balance, and that's how they end up on an episode of Ninja News Japan. A mother and her boyfriend drove their 8-year-old child to the mountains and left him there to discipline him. So this is like when people dump dogs or other animals. They drive them out into the forest or the mountains. They let them out, and then they just drive away. I cannot think of a more traumatizing thing you could do to a child than just dump them in the mountains and act like you're going to leave them there forever. The boy had better sense than I would in that situation. He is 8 years old. He sought help at a nearby camping facility, which was 1 kilometer walk away. So he figured out, I guess, to follow a road. He followed it for 1 kilometer. He found a camping place, the place where they probably reserve camping spots. He walked in. He said, my parents just dumped me in the mountains. Can you help me? The people, of course, can. They called the police. They called 110. The mother and boyfriend went back. I think I didn't write it down, but I think it was like 20 minutes later, they went back to go get the kid. So they didn't intend to abandon him there. But the problem is they did leave him there with the kid not knowing they were going to come back. So the kid had to start taking care of himself, which he did right away. He did the smart thing. He didn't just stand there and cry. Then when they got back, he was gone. So then they called 110 as well and said, hey, we have sort of lost our kid, but I'm betting the kid actually was pretty honest about his story with the people who like found him in the first place at the camping thing. And he said to them, you know, my parents dumped me here. So the police know who they're looking for. They call the police show up. The parent and her boyfriend have now been arrested. So it's almost like discipline went two ways in that one. Not only was the child disciplined, but the parents were also disciplined. I would like to see the parents very severely disciplined, just like the kid was. A viral video sort of hit the Japanese Twitter, X, those kind of things, of a child tourist on the Shibuya crossing. So the Shibuya crossing is that very famous crossing. It's like 5-6 lanes all cross, and there's a huge crowd of people go through the middle. You've seen it in a bunch of movies. It's a pretty dramatic thing. I actually haven't visited because I don't care for crowds, and that's kind of the whole point of going there. We regularly get stories of YouTubers and stuff messing about in the middle of Shibuya crossing because they're blocking people. This one, you have a little girl, I think she's from Taiwan, is one of the stories said. There were a lot of stories about this, and sort of the facts are a bit mixed up. The video's pretty clear. This is a very small girl, maybe 8-9 years old, super excited to be at Shibuya Crossing. Someone's filming her. She's sort of dancing around. She's not really being in anyone's way, and she's not really in anyone's way. A person walks up, clearly beelines towards the kid, and then shoulder checks the kid and knocks them over. There was no technical injury in this case, but I went to bengoshi.com where they had a discussion about this. Like, what is the actual charge? There was no injury. That is assault, physical force towards another person, and that can get you 2 years in prison and up to a 300,000 yen fine. If the child had fallen and injured themselves, that would be assault and injury, which can be 15 years in prison and a 500,000 yen fine. They were saying, like, is it self-defense because the little kid got in the way? Which, okay, in the video, the kid did not get in the way. The woman went out of her way to check the kid and knock them over. But, you know, the person is going to claim the kid was in the way. It was self-defense. Self-defense could only be claimed if it was unavoidable and clear. It was unavoidable and there was nothing else you could do. Now, it's Shibuya Crossing. You can slow down. You can take a step to the side. You can turn. There are a lot of things you can do to avoid this. Therefore, it was not self-defense. That would not hold up in court. If they find this woman, she would be guilty of assault without injury, because I'm assuming the kid just bounced, because kids bounce. And therefore, if found guilty and arrested, she could get 2 years in prison and a 300,000 yen fine. Don't go knocking little kids over. There is a sort of this weird thing that incel dudes in Japan do where they walk around stations. They try to find people usually on their phone and they shoulder check them so they can say that person wasn't paying attention. And then the incel dudes will knock just generally into any woman in their way and then claim they were in the way. And if they turn around and argue, what they're hoping is they're too scared to actually like fight back. And this is how sort of they get their jollies. In a good society, we don't shoulder check anybody. One Piece is the best-selling manga of all time with over 600 million copies sold. Now, they've got like 1,000 manga, like comic books out. So I don't know how many of those are that or the compilation manga or anything, but it doesn't matter. It's clearly the best-selling comic in all of history, which is really cool. What is the One Piece is the primary question. It's what the pirates are all going after, like the original One Piece. What is the One Piece? And this is like Lost. Like, people claim that the writers of Lost didn't know what the actual conclusion was, what the island was. A bunch of people said, it's purgatory. And then the writers of Lost are like, no, it isn't, but we know it is. And then it turned out to be purgatory anyways, because I actually think they didn't know what it was when they started. They just hoped they were going to write their way out of it. Or they knew it was purgatory. When people like figured it out, they were like, oh, but we can't let them know that. The question is, does the author of One Piece know what the One Piece is? He's saying, yes, it is. He wrote it down on a piece of paper. And they released a video to celebrate the thousandth. They were celebrating One Piece being the best-selling manga of all time. He writes down on a piece of paper what the One Piece is. Then he tears it in half and he puts half the paper into a special glass orb. And then there's a scene of a boat going out to the ocean and them dropping that glass orb overboard so that, you know, there is an actual treasure at the bottom of the ocean that you could find that tells you what the One Piece is. That is technically, in this real world, the One Piece. This is actually really cool and creative and smart, and I quite like it. And it is, where he dropped it, he says it's going to be 651 meters down. And people with way too much money are already talking about how to figure out how to go dive down to it with, I guess, a submersible, get it, bring it back so that they can claim that they have solved the mystery of the One Piece or found the One Piece or something like that. But, I mean, as far as, advertising stunts go, this one didn't seem to hurt anybody, and it's kind of interesting and cool, and I'm glad he's did it. There's a cram school in Japan. Since we're kind of talking animation and comics and things like that, all the teachers are VTubers. It's called Luminaris Online Juku. So Juku is what kids do to study to get ready for their exams. It's a really stressful system in Japan. We're hitting exam season right now. We're actually probably coming to the end of it. Kids are all stressed out. They're doing exams. It's a tough life. I do not actually think this is the best way to do it, but my opinion on this matter is irrelevant. Kids find it hard to pay attention. So what's something you could do to get them to pay attention? We'll find something they like, and they like VTubers. Will they listen to VTubers when they talk about math? I don't know, but if it's going to help, I'm all for it. This is the kind of thing that seems stupid at first, but if it helps kids pay attention and listen, I am down with it. Do whatever you can. I think education in manga form, education in comics, education in animation, whatever you can do to get kids to pay attention and learn is worthwhile. The courses you can take at Luminaris are math, physics, English, chemistry, world history, Japanese history, geography. It is $63, the equivalent, so about 7,000 yen a course a month. So I assume you would only do once a week or something, or maybe you would go more often. But for each course, you can go for a month for 7,000 yen, and then you could probably take multiples, so you'd be paying, multiples of that. I didn't get a good sense of whether it was only online, like pre-recorded things. But if they're VTubers, I assume those are teachers. They're on the other side of a computer screen. You study, you ask them questions, you get response in the VTuber voice and whatnot. And that, if it clicks for you, man, I mean, anything to help kids out and education in modern society, yes, please. A man was pulled over. So there were two stories. One was he rear-ended and one was a head-on crash, but it seems more stories said the head-on. So there was a head-on crash with another car, and the cops show up like they're supposed to. A man is standing outside his smashed-up car drinking a chew-high in front of the police. Now, the belief is that he was drinking the chew-high, and he could say he started drinking the chew-high after the crash, maybe because he was so stressed out from the crash. And then the cops would be like, well, you were driving drunk. He's like, no. You're going to, of course, find alcohol in my system now because I was just drinking a chew-high. But I wasn't drinking a chew-high when I was driving. I wasn't drunk when I was driving. That was post-crash. The police, of course, say, hey, this seems really suspicious. We think maybe you were drunk driving and not waiting until after the crash to drink the chew-high. So the man takes the remainder of the chew-high and pours it over the head of the police officer because that's a really sober thing to do. Then when he's arrested, I mean, that's also assault of a police officer. So you're going to get in trouble for that. Even if you were sober while you crashed the car. Crashing the car is probably already a problem. Claiming you were not drunk, I'm betting they have a way to figure out if you were or not. But drinking at the scene of a crime, probably still somehow they could get you in trouble. Public intoxication or something like that. Pouring it on the police officer is assault of a police officer. Even again, like previously, no injury, it's still assault. When he was arrested, he says, I didn't pour it on him. It just happened. So like the police officer hit the man's elbow. The chew-high went up in the air and poured on his head. I don't know. I don't believe any of it. I think the man was drunk. And in his drunk mind, he was like, I have come up with a scheme to get out of the drunk driving charge, even if I have crashed my car into another car. A 44-year-old man has been charged with causing the death of a 32-year-old woman by making her drink 32 shots of tequila. So I'm sure it was a challenge or a bet or something like that. 32 shots is a lot, but it's also very abstract. So I actually went and did the math of what is 32 shots of tequila. And so I asked the internet, which is, of course, the best way to get all information, how many shots in a bottle of tequila, so 750 milliliters of tequila, will work out to 16 to 17 shots. She drank 2 bottles of tequila in 90 minutes. So I'm assuming it was like almost like a chug challenge, like you do it, stop, talk for 10 seconds, take a breath, do it again, 90 minutes. Because 32 shots in 90 minutes is one every couple of minutes. So it's every 5 minutes she's downing a shot. And then she, of course, dies from alcohol poisoning. It's true I encouraged her to drink, but I didn't have any sexual intent. So, of course, what the man is saying that he did have sexual intent. He's got her drunk and he was intending to take her to a hotel. He was actually on the way to the hotel when she sort of collapsed. And then he realized he had done something wrong. He had gone too far. He calls the police. He calls an ambulance. They come up. They're like, you got this woman drunk. You got her blackout drunk. You were taken to a hotel to take advantage of her. He's like, oh yeah, I got her to drink, but I had no ill intent by taking her to this hotel, which we've had this conversation how many times in Japan now. There is only one reason to go to a love hotel. And that is to try to do something untoward to another person, hopefully consensually, but in this case, clearly not. I actually said I should end episodes on an upbeat note. And by pushing all the heavy stories to the end, so they get heavier as they go along, I can't do that. I can't talk my way out of this one. I hope he gets charged with murder, not manslaughter, not accidental murder or something else, something lower. He intended to get her drunk. He intended to get her to drink as much as humanly possible. He intended for this to happen, for her to black out. And if someone's blackout drunk, you are one step away from killing them anyways. So I hope he gets charged with the full charge you could get, which would be murder. Although I know the Japanese system is far too lenient on this kind of stuff. And they're going to say, like, she did willfully drink it, even though he encouraged her to. But man, people got to get charged for this stuff.